Welcome back to Stroke Warrior Radio, where survivors, caregivers, and warriors from around the world come together to reclaim hope, possibility, and purpose. I'm your host, Ralph Cortiz, and today we begin a brand new collaboration show with my friend, fellow survivor, and mentor to a whole lot of people, Keith Taylor, founder of Strength After Stroke and creator of the BASE program. Welcome, Keith.
Hey, thanks so much, buddy. I appreciate you so much, Ralph. I can't even begin to say. I was going to take a quick second and just say, the growth that you've had personally is just out of the atmosphere, bud. You've just done a fantastic job, and you have come so far and done so much. And I just appreciate you for all the work that you do for the stroke community, and it's great to be here, bud.
Well, thank you very much. Do
Yeah,
you realize you're the first person, the second person I met when I came here to Bend, Oregon?
yeah,
We had lunch within 2 weeks of me moving here, and
yeah.
it's been a pretty good relationship since.
It really has, and yeah, I'm proud of you, by the way, just so you know. So
Well, ditto. I mean, you've come a long way too, brother. I mean, you've
yeah,
done a lot for the stroke community, and I really appreciate it.
yeah.
So today's pilot episode really is about the beginning of a transformation, the moment when physical rehabilitation ends and a work of strengthening the mind, body, heart, and identity truly begins. Keith built a base program out of his own journey. I know we've shared this before, the fear, the fog, the confusion, the grief, the rebuilding, and his commitment not just to rebuild his own life, but to help others rebuild theirs. Tell us about that, Keith.
Well, I created the base program because I lived through the same confusion, fear, all these things you're talking about that all the other stroke survivors experienced, and I experienced the same thing. But nobody really talks a lot about that. Your doctors and your therapists and everybody help you as much as they can, and they do a fantastic job, and it's not about that. But when I got home and the fog finally lifted from my own brain a little bit, I realized that uh, where do I go from here? It's like, I remember in the darkest moments staring out that window, which, I know is maybe we'll talk more about later, and just thinking to myself, what now? And frankly, I was about to commit suicide, and finally it came to me, and I thought, you know what? We need a program out there that gets people's mental game going again. We need a program that doesn't cost an arm and a leg too, Ralph, that you can, you don't have to go get all the professional help and stuff. And it's written by a stroke survivor. I didn't mean to flash forward, but I just wanted to build something that I needed, frankly, personally. And that's really how BASE came about because I needed something to change. I needed help with, my own belief in myself, my attitude, my strength, energy. And that's, of course, what BASE is all about. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Because I know from my own recovery, the roller coaster is huge. I mean, it's gigantic how far we go down and how far we go up. I mean, it's an enormous roller coaster of emotions and all kinds of things.
Yeah,
Um,
and it doesn't mean that it stops either. We
yeah,
both know
exactly.
that. Yeah,
Even 10 years later, it still hasn't stopped. I mean, it still go through it,
absolutely.
but learning these tools in the meantime helps you get through it even 10 years post.
Absolutely.
So you've talked openly about shock, confusion, and even suicidal thoughts. Tell us
Hmm.
about that and why was it important for you to tell that part of the story instead of skipping straight to the good stuff?
That's a good question. Well,
Hey, I was in those dark moments too, so this
yeah,
is very dear to my heart.
yeah. I believe that most people, probably 90+%, I would even go higher than that, And of course, we've been in stroke survivor meetings and stuff and asked that question, but go through some kind of depression, okay, after their stroke. And I wanted to share my personal story to people so that they understood that it's not just about them as a stroke survivor. It's my personal story as well, and I needed something to help me get through the emotions and the fear of not being able to get back into the game, if you will. I really felt the importance of that, and so that's what it's about. And I just wanted people to understand that I came through that too. I mean, my story, and I won't delve into it much here right now, Ralph, but some of it, and it was a hell of a battle, frankly. And I
Yeah,
don't talk a lot about it, but I lost a lot and
yeah,
couldn't talk right. And there was a bunch of stuff going on. So we'll talk more about that down the road. But I wanted something that would help people know that it's okay and they can get over it. So by
yeah,
working, you got to work at it. But anyway,
yeah. It's a daily repetitiveness and consistency
yeah.
where you realize you had to change your mind before you could change anything else.
I lost the connection just for a second. Could you repeat that question, please?
What was the moment or shift or aha moment where you realized you had to change your mind before you changed anything else?
Okay. It may sound a little weird, but I tell the story of I was standing in the window, my picture window, looking out. Tears are seriously flowing down my face, bud, because I was so um, I'll use the word depressed, but it was, my mental attitude was like, what now? I really went through that. And so I was sitting there thinking about all the depression, and all of a sudden, seriously, I started thinking, wait a second, there's got to be other people out there that are going through this same stuff as I am. And it created that shift in my mind that you're talking about. It's like, all right, now instead of thinking all these depressed things, why don't I start thinking about how could I become someone who helped other people find their way through this. And instead of going down a depression road, start looking at what's ahead. What could I create? What could I do that will help others or whatever? And when you take your eyes off of yourself like that and you can put them on others, your motivation and everything grows so much. I mean, I know you can relate to what I'm talking about, buddy, because you've done the same thing. So,
Yeah, once you get in that community and that family, that community becomes a family. So, I
yeah.
mean, that's an amazing part. Many survivors feel like the hardest part starts after rehab ends. What were the emotions you had to face once you were finally home and alone with your thoughts? Did you
Um,
get that?
yeah, I heard most of it. It jumped around a little bit. I don't know if it's my connection or what, but so
Uh, uh,
what were the emotions that
what were the hardest part? Most survivors feel like the hardest part starts after rehab ends. What were the
yeah.
emotions you had to face once you were finally home and alone with your thoughts?
Yeah, okay. So I was very upset because I knew that things were different for me. I now had to figure out how to make the most from my life and try to enjoy it again. And I mean, it's a hell of an event, right? We both know that. So there was a lot of depression, frankly, and emotions like, can I ever, be able to contribute to my family again? I mean, am I going to make any money or not? And what's that going to look like? And so what do I do to keep myself busy instead of just sitting around and being depressed? And so those emotions are real, and I had to face those emotions after coming home, for sure.
You've said before that you didn't even know what a stroke was. How did that lack of understanding shape your early recovery?
That's a good question right there. Um, like most people, I thought it was going to be a short-ended, short-term thing, right? I
Yeah,
thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna walk out of the hospital. I had this stroke, and here in a few weeks I'll be back to work and doing the same thing I was doing before, right?
right.
And yeah, and then shortly afterward, then reality starts kicking in. It's like we went to the neurologist, and I had my business partner with me. We go to the neurologist, and at that time, this was in 2010 when I had my stroke. And the neurologist looked right at me, and he was busy doing other stuff, and that's a whole nother story. But he said, "Well, you got about a year and a half, as good as it's going to get for you." And my business partner was in there, um, uh, as well.
Ouch.
And yeah, and so the next thing, a year and a half later, they let me go, and I was an owner, but the my three other partners voted to have me out. And so, early on, I worked hard to get as far as I could before that year and a half because I thought that that's all I had. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question or not, but I didn't understand all these things, right? I didn't know
Right.
any of this, and all of a sudden, all this stuff is thrown on you, and and then a year and a half goes by, and you're not better
Yeah.
completely, and you really get an understanding about what recovery is about. And you gotta, if I can take just a second here, bud, and just tell people you've got to work on it. You've got to be committed to yourself, not to everybody else, but to yourself. And you got to learn and keep growing, man. So,
Yeah, definitely. Let's introduce the base program from the top. What does base stand for and why those four pillars?
okay, well, BASE stands for belief, attitude, strength, and energy. And so I started it because I couldn't find any other programs, like I was saying, to help in order to regain my mental abilities back. I was so upset because there's all the physical rehab and everything, and it's nothing against them, and I believe in that. But I needed mental
Yeah,
help. And yeah, and so I was like, wait a minute, we got to have something out there that people can work on their own confidence and their mental attitude and get their strength in their mental side back. And so that's why I started. And again, it's belief, attitude, strength, and energy. And so I wanted people to be able to know that they still have potential and they can grow on it.
before you created base, you went looking for support. I mean, you were looking at books, programs, guides, and you said a couple times that you came up empty. What gap did you see that survivors desperately needed filled?
Again, there was that huge gap that survivors need to work on their own self-importance, their self, their mental
I know
side.
I've asked the same question different ways, but I can't, I
Yeah.
appreciate your emphasis on this.
And the other thing is, Bud, is to get that kind of help in a psychological realm, you're going to pay tons of money. No offense to anybody, and I get what they do, but a lot of stroke survivors don't have that kind of money. And so I wanted something from a stroke survivor that would help them see their own self importance and be able to work on their own stuff. In my program, you work on your own stuff, and there's ways to go through that at a very, very low cost, and even as you and I are going to do a bunch more stuff here, and get it out there. So I'm not even concerned about that. I just want people to have that. Um, so
Okay. You mentioned basis shifting shifting belief and attitude first. Why do mindset and emotional strength matter just as much as physical rehab?
Oh my gosh. Well, if you don't believe in yourself and have the attitude that you're going to do the work you need to do, um, by having that belief and attitude in yourself, nothing's going to help you really. Um,
Yeah.
you can go through all the physical rehab and all that stuff, but if you're not willing to believe in yourself again after having a stroke and hearing, you know, sometime we'll have to talk a little more about, even your partner, and maybe we can talk right now. A lot of people that I know, okay, their partners, they want to help them so much, but they overtake them. In other words, they don't allow them to speak. They don't, because they're trying to help them. I get that, but they overtalk them. And we've got to, as a stroke survivor, we've got to have that belief and attitude and strength and energy. Okay, but let's talk about belief. You got to have belief in yourself. You got to have the attitude that I can do this myself, and that's what's going to really help you get going, not just from a physical standpoint, but you got to have that physical or that mental standpoint to keep going.
They kind of go hand in hand, don't they? I mean,
They do.
if you don't have the physical therapy, your emotional is going to be crap. And if you
Right.
don't have, I mean, and that's what I like about your program.
Totally agree with that.
It takes into account, yeah. How can a survivor tell when they're stuck in limiting belief? And what's the first step to shifting them?
That's a good question. How how can a survivor tell when they're stuck in a limiting belief? Well, we can feel like we lost control, and our
Okay.
limiting beliefs stem from going through what all of us do after a stroke. Your confidence comes down. You may have others talking for you, like I was just saying. You can't say what's on your mind, and then you just kind of give up. And so you've got to recognize that that's happening and then make up your mind to take action on that. Your inner thoughts have a huge impact on you after stroke and on your growth. If you're constantly telling yourself that you're just not smart enough to move forward, what's going to happen. So
You're not
telling
going to
your
move forward. Yeah.
yeah, so it's those limiting beliefs. You got to pay attention to those, and you have to move forward. Shifting this is not easy. Okay, but once you acknowledge that that's a problem, then I go through some I can statements and stuff like that. And I know it sounds elementary almost, but think about after having your stroke and how our brains are. And so I kind of came at it from that approach based on my own experience
Yeah.
and said, I got to start using positive statements. I got to get around positive people, right? That can help me do that. And so I hope that answers that question too.
Yeah, it does. It does. Um, let's go introduce the base program deep dive into each the little pillars eventually, but let's just go into a little bit of a dive into um, what our 4 part series of shows will dive into the 4 pillars in detail. Let's briefly tell our listeners each of the pillars.
Okay.
So
So,
what does belief mean in the context of post-stroke life? Or
okay.
TBI or, those kind of things as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's about growing your self importance. Belief is about growing your self importance, trusting yourself and gaining your confidence back. I've seen over and over people who've had a stroke lose their belief in themselves, and they let other people push them around. I know I've been talking about this a little bit, but it's somewhat what happens. You go to the doctors and therapists, and they're trying to help you, but then you have to regain the belief in yourself. they can't do that for you. So you got to start trusting yourself and working on gaining your confidence back. And that's what the belief section is, so you can keep moving forward.
How does
Do you
somebody
want me to
begin restoring that belief?
say that one more time?
How does somebody begin restoring belief when they've lost that confidence? They lose their identity, they lose purpose. I mean, how do
Great.
you restore that?
That's a great question. First, you got to decide. You got to decide that you're going to change. Okay. And it starts within because it's your decision. I can't force you to do anything. But once you make that decision, then we go to work on removing these destructive patterns or the limiting beliefs that have formed. And those could have formed before, because let's face it, life is full of this kind of stuff. And people don't have a lot of strength anyway, a lot of times. And so then you have a stroke, and now all of a sudden these beliefs are very limiting. And so you can't put that handicap on yourself. You got to start, working on gaining on that. So you have great value, but it starts from within. So you got to make that choice to grow the belief in yourself.
What's that 80s phrase? Baggage?
Yeah, lots
Yeah,
of it.
get rid of that baggage.
Yeah,
Uh, Attitude is huge after stroke. What does a survivor's internal attitude look like when it's working for them versus against them?
I think
So,
they have
how
a
do you recognize it?
well, I think you recognize it by purpose. Let's talk about, I mean, I'm just going to ship this to you. When you had a purpose to do Stroke Warrior Radio and you began on that, your attitude changed, bud. And I'm not kidding you. Okay. I'm picking on you, but that is the truth. And so same happened with me when I decided that I want to help other stroke survivors regain their abilities back through the base program. I got motivated, okay, to do that, and I had a purpose, and so that's what it is. It's finding that purpose that helps you do that.
This popped into my head, and it's probably the wrong way to say it, but that purpose can be self-centered to improve myself and don't worry about anything else, right?
Absolutely. I don't believe that it has to be any specific thing. It just needs to be something that you're willing to work on to better yourself, and at the same time you can better other people, but you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that way. You just have to make the decision that, hey, I'm going to work on helping myself get better. And it
Yeah.
can be whatever. I mean, purpose can be very big, open-ended thing.
I know we're going to get into this a lot more when we do the actual show on attitude, but what practices or reflections help survivors reset their attitude day to day?
I think it's knowing that you're growing and deciding that you're going to try to have a positive attitude today. There's a couple of things that help me personally with that. I journal almost every day. I mean, I could show you right here. I got like 25 of these, and these are my journals. And you can't see the writing in them, but
Right.
I journal every day because I think it's important. And I tell people, other stroke survivors, journaling is a huge key to start resetting your attitude for the day. The other thing, some people listen to recordings. I also believe, and I apologize for this, Ralph, but on my phone, I have there's a voice memo
No.
in there, voice memos, and I have an affirmation. You probably can't see it, but I have an affirmation, and I recorded that a while back, and it's 4 minutes long. I mean, it's 4 to 5 minutes long, and I listen to that as often as I can, and it really impacts me for my attitude, because now I know I'm working towards what's most important to me in my life.
Sorry, you froze up for a moment there. What it impacts you how?
because then I really know what's most important to me in my life, and I'm moving towards that on a subconscious level every day, you know. So and then I practice this little thing called peace. It stands for positivity, endurance, awareness, choice, and engagement. And so
Oh,
I
I love
practice that.
that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to send me that because I'll never remember it. You talk about you talk about strength, and one of the pillars, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. What does that kind of strength look like in real life? If you're accomplishing it, what's it look like?
Mm, we tend to look at ourselves based on our abilities, right?
Yeah.
And after a stroke, we're very quick to underestimate ourselves and we overestimate other people. So I see stroke as a challenge that we've been given for whatever reason. Who knows, right? We all wonder that. And a lot of people may use it as an excuse not to move on. Others take that same event and they use it as a reason to reignite a passion towards a new beginning. You know, a lot of people go through different stuff in their life, and they don't know what stroke is. And I don't expect them to, but it feels very powerful to them. And they have to switch, they have to change gears. And so, um, I think that's what it is. Of course, you got to believe. Let's see, your belief and your attitude in yourselves and growing. You got to feel the value in yourself, um, and the strength will continue to grow on itself. If you get a little more strong or get a little stronger each day, it will continue to grow on itself all the time. And the next thing you know, you're doing much better. And you know,
Yeah,
I
it's those small victories that we get every day that we need to recognize. And
exactly.
that's part of the reason I like journaling because I can look back. I have two journals. Okay, one's an anger journal and
Hmm.
the other is my daily journal. There's
Yeah.
going on, that that I can get rid of that anger,
Right.
those kind of things. But my daily journal, I can also look back and see, hey, you know what? I took 10 steps without the cane today.
Yeah.
And yesterday I only did five.
Exactly.
Those are big deals. They may
Absolutely.
it may not sound like much, but that builds the strength. Isn't that pretty much how survivors build strength, even on days when they feel defeated or overwhelmed?
Um, Absolutely. You know, absolutely. They're building that strength because when you have one um, positive thing that happens, if you can focus on that, then you're going to build on that. If you don't focus on that and you wake up and you're thinking negative thoughts and the and no offense or nothing, but the woe is me side of things, which we all went through. I went through it too. I mean,
Yeah,
I felt that way for a long time. um, you're not going to do it. But I like to say this too. When you have a positive experience or you notice something positive, you have to allow that in. And just like you're journaling and doing that, you allow it in and you write about it, which reminds us because sometimes we lose our thoughts a
yeah,
lot, like I do. And so you journal it and then you can meditate on it, you can think about it or whatever you want to call it. You think about it and let it come in and breathe deep. And just like I was saying with my phone, I recorded those things on my phone that help me stay in the positive each day. And to me, that's critically important.
yeah. Your fourth pillar is energy. Energy after stroke is so different from energy before. the effort, fatigue, emotion, motivation. What does the energy pillar teach survivors about protecting and rebuilding their energy? I thought that was very interesting that you had protecting their energy uh, in your literature.
Uh, I might have to look that up. Uh, I'll just answer by saying this. If you can apply a positive energy towards your own growth, even when you feel like you're taking, uh, a couple of steps forward and then you're going back three steps, I mean, because we all feel that at times, right?
Oh yeah,
But yeah, but it's those critical moments. It's that critical moment when you can have that positive energy, and if you can find something that you're passionate about. Now, I'm going to talk about this for just a quick second, bud, because you talk to people about passion, and they're like, "Well, I don't know what my passion is." I don't, and I'm not saying you got to know what your passion is after surviving a stroke, but if you start something, it will begin to come to you. It takes time. It doesn't happen, overnight. But when you find that passion, you'll find excitement again. You'll be finding that energy again that you need to keep going and keep you excited about life. Does that even answer your
yeah,
question?
yeah, it does. What are some early signs that the someone's energy is shifting in a positive direction?
Um, well, this may sound interesting, but I think when when somebody finds a new purpose after having their stroke and something they're excited about or working towards, um, then you just see that positive energy shift in them. And I think about all the stroke warriors out there. Um, when you, I took some notes on this. Let me just see what I said here. Yeah, and I keep pointing you out, and I don't mean to do that, bud, but
That's all
uh,
right.
you started out wondering what you were supposed to be doing too. Do you remember? I mean,
Yeah,
and then you discovered it, and look at the positive energy you put into this, and look what difference you're making in not only individuals' lives, your life personally, the world's life. I mean, I'm not joking, bud. You have really done a lot. And so, um, with me, um, what are early signs? I think you just start seeing their energy change, and I think you start seeing them know what their purpose is, if
yeah,
that helps.
I think it builds. That strength does build up. I mean, every time I get in a new country, listening to stroke can do about 8 to 10 hours of work on
Yeah.
the radio afterwards. When I find I got Switzerland this week or France this week or that kind of stuff. So I mean that strength does build, and I chose to recognize it. I guess that's part of it, like you said.
Well, the other side of this, I'm just going to say this is, I mean, you're a hard worker. There's no doubt about it, and you work your tail off, and I know that. But and not everybody's gonna do what you do, and not everybody's gonna do what I do, but they can still find their own purpose. I mean, think about all the people we see in the stroke warrior meetings and all the
Yeah,
people that you see. I mean, if you're motivated by that and finding it, you will find it. Yeah, you gotta work at it, and it isn't gonna happen overnight. Sorry.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's true. Um, so essential to recovery to find purpose.
And I missed some of what you said, but you said, uh,
Uh, you said that finding was the turning point for you.
hmm,
Why do you think that was so important to your essential to your recovery?
I think it's just the engine of what drives you. I really do. It's the motivation that helps you set goals. It increases your efforts. It helps you get out of depression. It can get you into being social again. You know, it'll help you have resilience because, you know, I can watch my mouth, but crap's going to happen, right? And it isn't when it happens; it's going to happen. I mean, it is when it's going to happen. I said that wrong, but it's going to
Yeah.
happen. Let me just say that.
Yes.
And if they don't go your way, or you get tired, or you do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, whatever, it's just going to help you get on track. But when you have that purpose, you're not going to give up very easily. Things may be hard, but when you have a purpose and it's meaningful to you, you're going to find a way to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. How does how does the base program help survivors rediscover who they are now, not who they used to be?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Uh, People are challenged to change, right? Change is a very difficult thing, even when you don't have a choice. And so
Okay.
you're used, you're used to doing what you did before, right? And actually, that has defined us. Before when I was had my company and stuff, I mean, that was my definition really. And then I
Yeah.
had my stroke, and so I believe that base helps you change what you're facing. It helps you dig into uh, yourself and find new opportunities to create your own solutions and manage your way forward. It helps see yourself as a person that's moving towards something, not spending all this time thinking and worrying and going through all that all the time, but to start getting your life back put together again. I mean, that's what it's about. So,
Well, and you know Deb Myerson, I'm sure from Stroke Onward. I
yeah,
mean, she's got a great book about identity theft.
right.
You know, I thought when I first saw that it's about credit cards and all that kind of crap. But I started reading that and it's like, oh my God,
Yeah,
where's my identity going? And we
right.
have to develop a new identity more or less.
Exactly. And
You
it's
know, and
tough, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Again,
like
I'm
you
not,
said, change. Nobody
yeah.
likes change.
Mhm.
What would you say to someone listening right now who feels stuck, scared, or unsure where to start
Well, I would say,
or
it's
where to
okay to,
continue?
so I'm sorry, Ralph, say that again.
Or where to continue. Not only where
Well,
to start. I mean, some of us get through 5, 10 years post-stroke, 15.
exactly. Well, when you're ready, I'll say it this way: when you're ready, it's okay to get a little help. Everybody talks about PTs and physical therapists and stuff. I'm also certified I'm not trying to promote nothing, but I'm also certified as a coach, and I do it just for stroke survivors. And the reason is because when you're ready to start growing your self-importance and stuff, sometimes you need a little help with that. You need somebody to talk to, frankly,
Yeah.
is a big part of it, because it can help you get through that stuck or unsure part of where you're going to start. So, it's the whole base program too. I mean, belief and attitude and strength and energy. I mean, all of that helps. It helps you create a new vision for yourself. And that's not easy. Creating a
No.
new vision for yourself.
And
And
I think
sometimes
that's
it,
important too. Getting that base down pat to create community as well. I mean,
absolutely.
yeah. Um, you end most of your introductions or uh, different things that you write. I'm here to serve you. What does service look like in your mission today?
Helping other people regain their confidence and their inner strength so they can have a great life after stroke. That's really what it is.
I
I
love it.
run a lot of stroke warrior meetings, as you know, and all that stuff, and that's what I'm about. I think you know. I think you would agree with that, bud.
Keith, this is why your work matters. Survivors don't need another pamphlet. They need someone who's walked into the darkness, who faced the fear, and who came out on the other side with clarity and tools they can actually use. To everyone listening, your recovery doesn't end when rehab ends. Your story isn't finished because your stroke happened. You are still here because there is more life to live, more love to give, more purpose ahead of you. Keith and I invite you to stay with us for the full series as we explore belief, attitude, strength, and energy in depth. Until next time, catch the wave. That's Warriors achieving victories every day. Thank you, Keith.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ralph. Appreciate you.
Have a great day.
You too, bud.